Shazam?
Peacemaker. What a joke.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive. I am the Flash.
Truth, justice,
the American way.
I'm vengeance.
Hello and welcome to Elseworlds DC fan podcast. My name is Jordan, and with me, as always, here is Chris. How are you today, Chris?
Doing good. Doing good. Should be a fun show, and it's kind of my release of fun because it was a crazy day, and now I get to do the stuff we enjoy doing, talking about stuff we like.
Exactly. Yeah, it should be a nice way to kick off the weekend here. I realized I just played the old theme song, but for all the people listening, they hear the new one anyway, so they're good. Today we'll be talking some Elseworlds Arrowverse update here, as I am still continuing my way through my first watch of the Arrowverse. So yeah, we'll dive all into the Elseworlds crossover, which was like, so if you're going to continue listening, this is spoilers through like the 9th episode of season 5 of Flash, the 9th episode of season 7 of Arrow, and the 9th episode of season 4 of Supergirl. And then on a separate episode that you'll have in your feed too will be our long Halloween discussion. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But I got this cool clip I want to play here as we build into the Elseworlds and my whole Arrowverse update.
Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, hold on, let me replay.
Previously on
Supergirl.
The Flash, Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow.
There we go. Previously on. All right, so this is what we're talking about right now. We are talking about Elseworlds. There was no Legends in it, but I'll still kind of give my thoughts through how far I am in Legends, I guess, as we go. But yeah, so I just for the sake of clarity here, I actually watched this last Friday after I went to dinner with my parents. I came home, I watched the crossover. It was great. And then since then, I've actually finished season 5 of The Flash. I've finished season 7 of Arrow. I'm almost done season 4 of Supergirl. So I will hold off on commenting on anything that takes place like after Elseworlds, but I am farther along than Elseworlds at this point.
Nice.
But yeah, so this was a fun one, right? I mean, we talked about it just a second ago before we started recording about the lack of Legends in this crossover. But I do want to say I think this might be my favorite crossover. It's between this or Invasion for me right now. Because I think with this one, Elseworlds podcast title, so it's a nice one. But also,
It's a plus.
I kind of liked them being, like seeing. The first episode's really good too. The Flash episode is really good. I will say, that's probably my favorite episode of the crossover. Oliver waking up as Barry as Oliver, and just the fun that you could tell they were probably having making that episode. But it was funny. It was just a real funny and fun episode. And then even, when Barry gets Oliver back with the arrows in the back of his, when he shoots the arrows in the back of Oliver, getting payback for when Oliver did that to him in the season 1 of The Flash.
Priceless.
It was great. And I really enjoyed it. Seeing the, Clark and Lois and getting the Smallville theme song. Perfect. Like, the first episode knocked it straight out of the park. And I'm realizing that these crossovers, my favorite episode is usually the first episode. When we were talking about Crisis on Earth X, I love the wedding episode. It falls apart for me more when we get into the Nazi stuff. Just because I felt like it kind of there was just some weird stuff going on with that crossover. The first hour of that was fun, and this one was fun. First hour, like I could just watch these guys just hang out like that. That is, I'd be totally fine if that was a crossover that they did.
Yeah, I kind of get that. I like what we're going there with that. I think the funniest part of the first episode was Barry going, "You woke up in bed with Iris? We need to fix this right now."
Yeah, he was having fun until then.
It's kind of fun because you're like, "Oh wait, I'm an Argus. I'm Oliver Queen. I'm the mayor. Oh my god!" Like it was so fun to see Barry react to that. And then it was kind of awesome to see the characters react to Oliver acting weird, like something was wrong because he was Barry, and Star Labs was like, okay, what's going on? Let's run tests.
So while the first episode is my favorite of the bunch,
It's pretty good.
There are some logical inconsistencies, I feel. You mean to tell me that nobody in Star Labs, with all the crazy stuff they've seen, would buy this? They wouldn't buy that this happened?
Well, no, I think that's unfair, though, because Iris buys it after she talks to the real Barry.
And Barry played this wrong, by the way. Barry told Oliver, go tell her she's your lightning rod. No, that'll make her think you are Barry.
Exactly.
You have to say it, Barry.
It's good that Oliver couldn't do it because it kind of would have ruined the story. But it's not fair to say they want to recognize it because Iris figured it out, and then Cisco got there. So it's not like they knew it originally, but they weren't blind to all the signs.
Yeah, it just seemed weird that they locked him in the pipeline.
I think they did that
overboard.
I think they did that for the dislocate your thumb scene, because I think that was, you had to get something Arrow into there, and
or they just finally wanted to answer the question about bathrooms in the pipeline.
Yeah, well, my problem is how many of the metas that get stuck in the pipeline knew that they could get the toilet out.
They probably told them.
I would hope so, but I also wonder how they got fed.
Oh, they used to slide it in, right? Because they'll give them Big Belly Burger. Usually.
I feel like they got really lax with explaining the pipeline.
Yeah.
But I think you're giving them too much credit, but okay.
Yeah, well, we see them eat Big Belly Burger. So I'm assuming maybe even if the door opens, the dampener is still in effect where it's hard for them to get out.
There was one major question I had, and it's a little early for this question, but why would the dampeners affect Supergirl at all, considering she wasn't a metahuman? She's an alien. That didn't make any sense to me. Other than that, I love this crossover. That's the one where I'm just like, yeah, that's the point that doesn't make sense.
I'll answer that for you. Deegan is rewriting reality, so he writes it to where that is that works.
Fair enough, I guess. but they were still called meta dampeners. If it was called superpower dampeners, makes a lot more sense. And theoretically, Deegan could just say, okay, this dampens any superpower.
Yeah.
All right, I jumped ahead a bit, but
that's probably what he did.
It was the thing that was annoying me about this crossover. Everything else I kind of really jived with. I liked this crossover. I thought the idea of Arkham Asylum and
going to Gotham, that was all really cool.
That was really cool. And I liked the way that Oliver was so convinced that Batman wasn't a thing and he was the first vigilante. And I love Oliver's insecurities because you don't see it very often. In Arrow, he's the man, he's kicking butt, and then Superman shows up in Smallville, he's there. You know, they go to Earth 38. He's puffing out his chest.
Yeah, are you puffing your chest out?
Yes, but I love that because I think anytime Oliver can be a little insecure, you get more of his personality sneaking out of him, and it's kind of fun. I like that a lot, and I really liked the whole Smallville thing, the theme song, everything, and Kara and Lois having a good connection. Something that I really wish we had in Superman and Lois. I know it's not connected to the Arrowverse, and now we kind of see why. But at the whole time in the beginning, I was like, I'd like Kara to pop in once in a blue moon. I mean, they don't have to be super tight, but I like the idea of Lois and Kara being friends. That was fun. There's a lot of good stuff there in Smallville. When I thought Oliver and Gotham and Smallville, those were some three little nuggets that I thought made this thing work.
Yeah. No, I thought it was a lot of fun. Even episode 2, like that's when they go to Gotham and stuff. That one's really fun. I think they have problems with with the end all the time for these crossovers because the third part is my
Sticking
least
the
favorite
landing
of
is
these.
hard.
Yeah.
Sticking the landing is hard because I liked the third episode a lot because I was like, "Ooh, we get more Superman. We get evil Superman and Jonathan and Deegan." Which, now that I think about it, when we rank Supermans, we really should rank him as the worst. But like it's like it doesn't quite count. But I really enjoyed all the Superman stuff and this idea that the real man who wears that crest is so different than him, and he has no clue about anything Superman. I thought it was interesting that they had so many nuggets of the Superman mythos when they explained that there's no Superman on this earth, so he had to fill in a lot of the blanks.
Yeah.
But they still had a Fortress of Solitude, even though it was the Time Vault. They still had so many different little Easter eggs in there, but that wasn't in Earth One. So that was a little bit of a logic. You could poke some holes in it, but I enjoyed the third act. I don't know that I love Oliver making a deal with the
With the Monitor.
Monitor. Yeah, Anti-Monitor comes next.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It was fun.
And I was actually pretty shocked that I can't say it because it's the end of Arrow season 7. That comes back at the end of Arrow season 7, and I was actually shocked they were dealing with it like in actual Arrow. Instead, like, look, I remember Crisis on Infinite Earth, so I know what happens, but I'm not going to spoil it for people that are, if you haven't gotten there before. So I had no idea that like the Monitor might show up in other episodes of other shows, and actually I had no idea what Elseworlds Crossover was about until those little teases where it shows the Monitor at the beginning, like taking on Earth 90, and we get like John Wesley Shipp Flash. And that was all like, that's when I was like, oh my God, they're already bringing in the Monitor to kind of really set up for Crisis. So they had a good idea where they were going well ahead of time, which I like. And when you talked about Barry and Oliver with like the whole Batman thing, I like when Barry as Oliver is like, no, I would never compare myself to Batman. That guy's a total badass. It's like just really digging into Oliver there. And it's, kind of a meta joke with the way people are saying that Oliver has been the stand-in for Batman in this universe. So I don't know. I think it really fit. I really, really enjoyed that. Plus, apparently they actually went to Chicago to film the Gotham stuff.
Yeah, and you
could
kind of tell. Yeah, Gotham looks cool on this. The only problem I really had was Ruby Rose. Her acting as Batwoman is a little rough. I think her line delivery is forced and I don't want to say cringy, but it's just not smooth for her. And I do think she got better in her one season of Batwoman.
Well, was she only in there for one season? I remember them recasting her.
Yes,
but I thought that was for the last season. She only did one?
She only did one season of Batwoman. and then they went with Ryan Wilder.
Well, because she
That
quit,
was
right?
Yeah, she quit. Well, she got really injured on set.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So she got really injured, and she was at the point where she's like, I'm never getting back in that suit kind of thing.
Mm.
And I mean, I kind of can't blame her, but there was a lot of he said, she said, and I don't think it was a good fit for anybody. I, she just, she wasn't really into the staying in Vancouver and doing the tedious shoots thing. I don't blame her for
Wouldn't
that.
you know that before you go into it, though?
That is the problem with it. Ruby Rose just seemed like a weird fit for the Arrowverse. It was like, ooh, let's get Ruby Rose in here. She's an up and coming star. But she's I mean this in the most polite way. She's not a good actress.
No,
She's not.
I'd probably agree with that.
I mean, she has the ability to deliver lines if they're not too complicated. But the actual like I just don't think she's a good actress. I think in a CW show she's stuck out, and that's a problem on a CW show.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, CW is already kind of can be cringy at times, but
I mean,
yeah,
you're
if they're
supposed to
sticking
be a
out.
little soap opera on an Arrow. You're supposed to be
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
cheesy on the CW, and it still was a problem for me. She looks the part. She did the action pretty well. I wasn't in love with it. I know that's what they can give you on the CW too. I know Batwoman is what they can give you, but out of all the Bat stuff you could have given me, um, I have to imagine there was someone who could have killed that part a little bit better.
So I wonder, just going back to Elseworlds and the storyline here. I know they mention it quite a few times. Is this a Freaky Friday or Quantum Leap situation? So are we seeing Barry as Barry? You know what I'm saying? Like, are we seeing, or does Barry actually look like Oliver and he's seeing himself look like Barry? Who is everyone else seeing?
So I took it as everyone saw Oliver as Barry and Barry as Oliver because that's what made sense to my head. And
That's
if
what I
it
thought.
didn't make if it's this is a thing you can headcanon. I feel like you can take it any way you would like it, but they seem to play it the most simple way was everyone thought Oliver was Barry.
Yeah, I almost feel like the real answer, and I don't know if I'm right here, is Barry still looks like Barry to everyone, but Deegan has rewritten reality that Green Arrow always looked like Barry, and Flash always looked like Oliver. Because we even see, like, when he picks up the photo of him and Iris, it is Stephen Amell. So
Fair.
it's this. I think that's what I think they kind of were trying to do that, because we even see like Barry seeing himself as mayor, right? Which was something Barry did not,
Yeah.
something that Barry did not like.
The problem with this is that it's much like the rest of the Arrowverse. If you think about it too hard, it falls apart. I think it takes away from the fun if you have to have a rock solid answer. You have to go with it a little bit in this show, especially because they did a lot of different things with altering reality before this. I mean, they did time travel where Diggle's daughter becomes Diggle's son and things like that. So they've
Yeah, that was a
they've
weird,
they've bent
a weird
things
thing.
in
How does
very weird
Barry
ways
going?
before.
How does Flashpoint make Sarah Diggle into John J? Do you think that is
Oh,
something?
that's nothing. That's nothing. I mean, in the comic,
I know.
Barry going back makes Martha the freaking Joker.
Yes, but when he goes back forward, everything is fixed. When he
Right,
did,
right.
you know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
it's this like, for me, I wonder if that's something like they're like, the writers are like, okay, they're doing that thing over there for Flashpoint. We kind of want to set up a John Jr. Can we use that as a way to remove Sarah Diggle instead of going through a whole nother pregnancy story? You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder if that's how
Mhm.
they were kind of focusing on it, because they may have already had their plan for what they're doing in the flash forwards for season 7. You know what I'm saying? Because
Can I give you an
Yeah.
interesting headcanon?
Sure.
So in my headcanon, you know how they tease Diggle as Green Lantern throughout?
Oh yeah.
In my headcanon, he actually goes down that path without Flashpoint.
Oh, okay. They actually, yeah,
Because they
they
tease him
hinted
so
here too.
close.
They
Yep.
hinted here too when John Wesley Shipp comes in
Mhm.
and
And
says, "Hey,
things
John,
must be different on this earth.
where's your ring?"
Yeah. So, and you know what his stepdad's name is? Stuart.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
I
I
mean,
put that together.
they laid on the. I believe 100% that the plan was to make Diggle Green Lantern, and they were told no.
That's what the way WB is about their stuff. That's probably exactly
Which makes
what happened.
absolutely no sense because
They were not
Ryan
using
Reynolds laid an atom bomb on Green Lantern until the new DCU reboot. There's been nothing Lanterns forever. So, what's the point in not? I think it would only have added to the mythos. Plus, Diggle kind of deserved an arc like that. But in my head canon, because I wanted it so badly, Barry ruined it with Flashpoint. That was my head canon.
Yeah, I think it's like we named Sarah Diggle in honor of Sarah, from Legends,
Mhm.
but now she's back alive, so we can kind of take that away now and make it, John Jr. But who knows? But no,
I also thought it was weird that Diggle would name the kid Sarah because it's like his kid. He wasn't that close with Sarah. I get it, but also at the same time, it's like, why?
he was doing it to honor Oliver, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Bro,
but
I know how much
everything.
you loved her. I'm gonna name my daughter after her.
This is why Diggle is the best friend everyone deserves. But
Well, okay, so I guess this is a question I have for your opinion on Flashpoint, the
the show,
show
Flashpoint.
version.
Okay.
So did everything happen in the sense of when in one of those seasons they have Sarah and they're like getting chased in the back of a truck or whatever, and Diggle, it's like with the whole Diggle's brother storyline. Did all of that stuff still happen, but it was just John Jr. at that point then? Is that what we're led to believe? I feel like that's what we're led to believe.
That is an interesting rabbit hole. I feel like we could do this forever with it. I think the problem I had with the show's Flashpoint is that it gave you a lot of little things like this that you could go down the rabbit hole with, but they didn't actually give you anything major. And I felt like it was so rushed and done with that as a fan of the comic Flashpoint, I was kind of mad. I was kind of mad. I was like, that's it? Just like 2 episodes in season 3? Really? Really? That's what we're doing?
You see, I liked that though. I liked that it was more focused around Barry than throwing in all the stuff that we're going to get in the movie and then we get in the comic, because I felt like if you're in there for too long, right? Like there was a certain point where I was already kind of bored of the Flashpoint universe that he went to, where I'm like, all right, yes, you love your parents. It's time to get you back though. You got to get back and be the Flash again. So I can see why they didn't want to stretch it out too. Because I know people would probably just complain like, oh, we went 5 episodes without Barry doing anything.
I could have gone like 3 episodes, and I could have gone with the stakes being raised a little bit more. I could have gone with it being a little more like the comic, but it was fun. It was good. It's the CW version of Flashpoint. It is what it is. I still think the animated movie, The Flashpoint Paradox, Justice League Flashpoint Paradox, is about as good as you're ever going to get until a certain movie that comes out in June. I'm not excited for at all.
You got all your gear on. Yeah, I got my phone background is the background I made of the Flash, and
yeah, you showed me that. That was pretty awesome.
I made a similar one for my computer as well, so I got it matching on my PC now. So I'm really excited. for the Flash. But anyway,
Back to Elseworlds,
we
I
can
guess.
start wrapping it up. But that's
Okay.
Elseworlds. But Legends, I'm only on episode 4 or 5 out of that season, just because I was trying to get through the crossover, and since Legends wasn't in it, I just let it sit for a bit, and then I got so involved with Flash season 5 that I just finished. I finished that last night.
What were your thoughts on Flash season 5? What were you thinking?
Overall, without any spoilers,
Okay.
through after Elseworlds anyway, I really dug it. I think if I'm still ranking them, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 though. Like I think that is the way. But
Yeah.
I will say, I bought the DVD now. Like I have the Blu-ray pre-ordered because the price went down. It was $150. It's on sale on Amazon for $116. So to lock in the lower price, I pre-ordered it.
Mm-hmm.
I like to buy physical media because you have all these streaming services now taking stuff off all the time or switching services. I now have access. I'll have access to it all the time now. And for me, seeing like 5 seasons of the show out of 9 that I really dug, I'm like, that's good enough for me. Like that,
Yeah.
like 5 out of 9 is more than half.
When you think about it like that, it's really awesome. I'm only one week away from being done with the show, and it boggles my mind. I love season 5 of The Flash. There were episodes in it that I wasn't as crazy about. I didn't love the Wells variant of the season.
Oh, do not talk bad about Sherlock. He is top tier Wells. He is top
I
tier
disagree.
Wells.
I disagree. He was one of my least favorite Wells variants. This is the only time that a Wells variant kind of felt like, okay, maybe we don't need a Wells variant.
Okay, hot take. Ready? You ready? Hot take. Variant number 1. Top Wells is Eobard Thawne Wells from season 1.
Okay.
Right? Second is Harry.
I see. I'm going to reverse. Harry's my number 1.
And then I'm going to go Sherlock and then HR.
Okay, so I'm going to go HR before Sherlock for sure.
No, I love Sherlock so much.
So
man,
Harry's my
great.
favorite. Harry's my favorite. We've been over this. I resonate with Harry. Harry resonates with me. So I very much like Harry. Other than that, your list except Sherlock's at the bottom. I'll take HR.
I'm not going to take the slander. It was
he was annoying. I found him incredibly annoying.
Oh, there was actually a time where it was the most interesting storyline. Near the end of the season, him solving the mystery, I'm not going to say what it is, was for me like edge of my seat stuff. Anytime, that's Tom Cavanaugh though. Anytime Tom Cavanaugh is on screen,
out of respect for Tom Cavanaugh, I will give it some praise. But it's the thing. It's the thing about the season that didn't jive with me. To be honest with you, I didn't love it. I didn't love it.
Oh,
but no, that's fair. Every different
like,
structure, different blokes.
That'll be that's like the highlight of season 5 for me. Sherlock. He starts off like a caricature, but they do add a lot of layer with all of these Welleses when they become the main Wells.
What was your favorite episode? What was your favorite episode of season 5?
Let's look at the list.
Okay, and I cut you off, so finish your point. I
was just saying,
didn't mean to cut you off.
When you look at like when HR was introduced, he started off as really character-curious, and then they started adding so many layers to him that where you feel for him when he dies.
Right.
And I felt like they did a good job with Sherlock there as well, where he starts off kind of like really ridiculous, but as the season goes on, he becomes okay. I really loved the 100th episode. What's past his prologue. I loved them going back in time to all of those main points is really great. Let's see.
It also reminded me how much of a sucker I am for the Savitar season. I love Savitar as a villain. I think that's our boldest take on the show is that we love Savitar.
Yeah, I know. People seem to not like Savitar, I guess, huh? I also really liked it. I'm not going to get into too much here, I guess, unless people want to turn it off. I really liked Cause and Excess, and I know some people don't like that episode.
So that was my favorite. That favorite. So that was the one where she kept going back
Yes,
and
it is
sucked
so
the
good.
loop.
I loved that
And
episode so much.
that's the 100th episode not being my favorite shows you how good that one was.
Mhm.
I think Nora is one of the underrated like top characters in this show. I think Nora is awesome, and I think Nora is fun because her name Excess is like exactly what she is. It's just way too much. Doesn't know how to deal with it. She's trying so hard. She is everything you love about Barry Allen to the excess. And I just really enjoyed her character, and I enjoyed that episode because one, time loops are my favorite, and
Yeah, I love
two,
anything with time loops and time travel.
I'm a sucker for it. I'm a sucker for it, and two, it was such an inventive episode. It was so different than the entire season. And I was like, I could use 3 episodes like this every season.
There are some great shots in it too, like when it turns from cicada and then like dollies into the person who's captured at the moment. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like some really cool stuff that they did in that. Oh, when she comes back and then like the rest of like the hallway like drops down. You know
Oh,
what I'm saying? Like the way it goes
yes.
like I was like, oh my god,
Yes.
that's awesome. They had so much fun with that, and it's amazing
Mhm.
that Barry's like not even in the episode.
But when you think about
It was
it
so
though,
good.
it's exactly what you talked about last week. It feels like a comic book. It is
Yes,
getting your
yeah.
comic bookiness out of TV. It is where you get your fix. And I just shows like this, I want those hits. I want those hits of dopamine that come from all this comic book sciencey stuff. And reversing time over and over again until you get it right is exactly what I want to see. I loved it. So that was my favorite episode. If we talk about only one thing on that Flash season 5, yeah, it was
Yeah.
perfect.
No, I really did enjoy that
All right,
episode a
carry
lot.
on, my wayward son.
So those are like my top 2 episodes.
Okay.
I think the season kind of loses some steam in the last after the reveal of who Nora's working with, like to the team. I think it kind of lost a little bit of steam with that while everyone's
Mhm.
like yelling at each other, and then it kind of I think the finale nailed it for me again. So I don't know. Overall, season 5 of The Flash really dug it. I know some people
Little
say,
runner,
yeah,
little runner.
some people.
God, that it, Thawne it became a better character in season 5 if it's possible because it added another dimension to him, and it was, man, he is so willing to f with Barry that he
Well,
will.
I was gonna say,
He,
and I'm not even like I do want to say I'm not even sure how he is Thawne dressed as Harrison Wells and he has the memories from the first season at this point, but it kind of is what it is.
well, the problem with the Flash is that Tom Cavanaugh contractually owns the Reverse Flash role. He was cast to play Reverse Flash. He wasn't cast to play Harrison Wells. All the Harrison Wells is a byproduct of how good he was and creative. Tom Cavanaugh, fun fact, actually came up with each Wells persona. He pitched it. He pitched it to the showrunners,
Really?
and yeah, he pitched it to the showrunners, and they just kept doing it. So Tom Cavanaugh was in on the writing with all that. Tom Cavanaugh came up with each Wells persona.
That's really interesting because I wondered how they would do that because you have to know like if you're doing Sherlock that he can do the like Quebec French accent, and
Mhm.
when he does like German Wells, you have to, you know what I'm saying? So like for him to like be able to like pitch these and just be like, some of it might even be from him goofing off on set with doing,
Well,
they're like, we got to put that in there, you know?
I listened to an interview. I forget what podcast it was, and I will try to track it down. I listened to an interview. He said that half the time when you get to the Council of Wells stuff, he basically just came up with it like on the spot. Like it was just like, oh well, this would make sense for the Council of Wells.
That's
so
awesome.
so his I think he had a lot of fun with Wells, but that's why he's gonna be Harrison Wells Thawne, because he is
Yeah.
contractually the Reverse Flash. So it gets a little complicated because you have two actors who play the Reverse Flash, but the one that's contractually obligated to play the character is the one that looks like Harrison Wells.
Yeah, but I mean, they did have, the other the other Eobard Thawne in like Legends and stuff, and he's come back before, right?
Yeah, he's come back, and you'll see him again.
He was in Flashpoint, I'm sure. Yeah, I think I've been spoiled that he pops up again like that.
Spoiler, you'll see him in season 9.
The way I just kind of write this off is after Flashpoint, the timeline didn't catch up to him as much. So, meaning the whole like Eddie stuff didn't wipe him out the way it probably should have. And what I mean by that is, I mean, they do mention, like, when I like in the first episode of this season, Ralph is the one that put together like time travel and the manyverse, right? He comes up with his manyverse theory, and
which hot take I kind of like. I know it's not ever going to be used, but the manyverse, like, it kind of makes sense that it would be called the manyverse.
Right.
I like it.
I love when they're like, "What do you think we meant when we said Harry's from Earth 2?" He's like, "I thought you meant Harry's from Earth also." It's like, why would we need to clarify that? But he also, at one point, somebody comes up to him and says, "It doesn't make sense." Like randomly, he's like, "Yeah, that Eddie wouldn't just get a vasectomy instead of shooting himself in the." And it's true, like there could have been another way around it, but
no, but Eddie getting a vasectomy later would not have saved Barry then.
True.
But the whole point is
unless if it's Bill and Ted type time travel, where Bill and Ted will be like, "We got to remember to leave us keys," and then they look over and like, "Here's the keys we left."
Well, I will say, anytime you bring in Kevin Smith or Keanu Reeves into the conversation gets better. No. Yeah. All due respect to those legends, no.
But yeah, no, I guess we'll wrap it up here with this stuff. We'll talk more season 5, I guess, next week.
Okay.
When we catch up.
Do you want
to
talk about Legends a little bit, or do you?
Yeah, my main thing I'll say with Legends, I'm not digging the mystical stuff as much. I did like the unicorn part though. the unicorn.
The Gary's nipple.
No, I was talking more about like when they're all like seeing the unicorn and they're all happy, and then you see it like charge and just absolutely stab someone through the heart.
Yeah, that was the Woodstock episode.
Yes, that one's really fun.
That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. And like Legends would ruin unicorns while simultaneously making them better at the same time. Like, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Legends is wacky, ain't it?
Oh, and I will also say Supergirl season 4. I love Sam Witwer in this show. He plays a great villain.
He really does.
And that episode where they focus a whole backstory on him was like the highlight of the season for me. So
actually, I will agree with you on that. That actually made me care about Supergirl a little bit more. The show needs more of a reason to care, and that was some of their best writing.
And they've done with that storyline, they've touched on a lot of really good stuff about radicalization and all that. So it touches a little too close to home now, retrospectively. It did then too. I mean, it was 2019.
Yeah, I guess the stain of 2016 and all that stuff.
Yeah,
really screws everything up, doesn't it? That's a different podcast.
All right, so we'll wrap this one up, and then our next episode here that you're going to be listening to shortly is the Long Halloween comic edition that we're going to dive into.